Hey everybody, it's great to see you today. Welcome to Living Power, your online Bible study where we are walking through the Bible in a year. Today is August 11th, and today we had some sporadic reading in Jeremiah that had to do with some prophecy. And it was prophesying the judgment of different nations. Now, some prophecy is really interesting and you just can't quit reading it, and others it's really a little bit hard to get through. And if you felt that way today as you were reading about the judgment of Ammon and the judgment of Edom, you're not alone. I'm going to try to do my best today to bring some life to this part of the scripture and to give you some background. I want to start with some history so that we can all be on the same page and just kind of recall where we are in world history. And I'll do my best to bring the scriptures alive to you today. At the end, I'm going to show you where Jesus is in the scripture. Yep, he's in the reading today as well. So we will be able to end on a really high note. We're not going to end in judgment today. We're going to end on a high note, and I'm going to show you Jesus. So let's start with the history review just a little bit. Nebuchadnezzar has succeeded his father in Babylon, and he takes over as king in Babylon in 605 BC. He defeated Necho of Egypt, that was the pharaoh in Egypt, at Carchemish, a very famous battle that you probably studied in world history and probably just don't remember it. But that defeat of Pharaoh Necho at Carchemish established Babylon as the world power, the dominant world power at the time. It was very, very historic. So Egypt and Judah are now vassal states of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar invades Judah in 605 to establish his rule, and that's when he carts off Daniel and some of the others. Okay, that's the history background. Now, we did read about the history or the judgment of the Ammonites, so let me just say this about that section. The Ammonites were people who lived east of the Jordan. They were, they're not Jews, they're not Israelites. When the North exiled when the North got exiled in 721 BC, they moved in. You see, they weren't part of the Assyrian invasion. They weren't affected by the Assyrian invasion. They were a neighbor that just stood around and watched. They didn't come to Israel's defense. They didn't come to help. They didn't rush in. They just kind of let things happen. And once all the people were exiled and out of the northern kingdom, they went in and took over their cities. That's why judgment is coming upon this group of people. They mainly moved in to where the tribe of Gad lived in the north. That's why you saw the reading today about Gad. The Ammonites, worshipped this god Molech, so they did not worship the one true God. The capital city was Rabbah. You read about that, Rabbah. That was the capital of Ammon. And it says the people will be punished because they worship Molech and because of their pride. They boasted of their riches, they're strong fighters, but there's judgment that's going to come upon the Ammonites as well. But in the end, at the end of this doom and gloom, God says he will restore the riches of the Ammonites, so they are not doomed forever. Now, that's different from the judgment that we read about the Edomites. Edom has historically, from the early days of the people leaving Egypt and coming in to capture the Promised Land, way back in the days of Moses, we read about the Edomites. And Edom, this is sort of a interesting fact, Edom can be characterized as the works of the flesh. And Edom is characteristically opposed to God throughout all of Scripture. And God is opposed to Edom. At the end of this judgment, you will see that they are not predicted. It's not predicted that they will have their fortunes restored, for there is no restoration for Edom. In other places of Scripture, it says God is constantly at war with Edom, which at a topical level, you see that it's just God against these people. But from a spiritual heart level, what that really represents is the work of the Spirit versus the work of the flesh in our life. And that's for another day. But there is something under the surface here with this prophecy with the Edomites. There is no restoration predicted for them. Now, at the beginning of the lesson today, I mentioned that we would talk about Jesus at the end of the video today. And I want to show you something in Jeremiah 23 that's entitled The Righteous Branch. And the branch of David, because of Jehoiachin, he was the king that Egypt put in charge of Judah. The line of David, the branch of David, has been cut off. He is not the rightful king. He does not come from the line. And this prophecy in Jeremiah 23 says that God will do two things. God will raise up and put back on the throne a bloodline ruler, and that he will bring a remnant back. We've talked a little bit about the remnant. That is very significant, the remnant in the Bible, because it says that God will always protect a remnant of his people, the Jewish people, and he will bring the remnant back. You see, in Jeremiah 23, when it talks about the righteous branch, it of course is referring to Jesus. Jesus came from the line of David. He was qualified to rule. He was the one promised by the Scriptures. And it says in Jeremiah 23 that Jesus will do three things when he comes back, when he returns. At his second coming, Jesus will reestablish the line of David on the throne because it's been cut off for a time. And number two, Jesus will gather the people from the 12 tribes. Number three, he will deliver them from oppression. This is what the people thought the Messiah was supposed to do the first time. And that's because they were reading scriptures like this, but they didn't know that it was to be broken up into two comings. When Jesus comes again, he will deliver the people from oppression, and they will be able to dwell in safety. If you would like to go and read a cross-reference, you can go to Ezekiel. It's a wonderful passage in Ezekiel 37, verses 15 to 18, and it talks more about the second coming and how Jesus will make the people to be able to live in safety and will deliver them from oppression. If you have a moment today, go ahead and read that, look up that cross-reference, and you can see how these two places of Scripture, Jeremiah and Ezekiel, really work together to show us more about what is going to happen at the second coming. Well, that's it for today. I pray that this has been a blessing to you. We're going to continue looking at just a little bit each day as we put the pieces of Scripture together to see the whole plan and ultimately the revelation of Jesus Christ. I hope you will continue with me. Blessings to you. Shalom.